Hello everyone, and thank you for joining for today's webinar, 5 Ways to Collaborate on Content with Smartsheet. My name is Anna and I'm a Product Marketing Manager here at Smartsheet. Today we're going to be talking about content collaboration, and content collaboration is kind of a broad way to talk about several different areas and capabilities that you'll find in Smartsheet. Now, depending on your role or industry or organization, you might work with content in different ways, but really the underlying theme is we all work with content in some way. And in Smartsheet, we're going to learn about the 5 different ways that you can do that. So we'll take a look at really starting at the basics, attaching files to a centralized place. So you're no longer thinking about where is that file related to the work that I'm managing in Smartsheet. We'll then take it a little bit further and think about content processes. And this is going to focus on actual content approvals and markups, going from the planning of content to actually having something approved and ready to use. We'll then move on to thinking about content in more of a document process approach. So in this area, we'll actually be creating documents in Smartsheet with data that you're tracking in a row within your sheet. So populating PDFs with mapped Smartsheet row data. I'll also share about some additional integrations that are available for these 2 capabilities that we just mentioned, and I've linked information over in our resources widget to learn more about those. These first 3 elements that we are discussing are within a sheet, and we're going to finish up our time today by taking a step outside of our sheet and looking at how to work with content with the dashboard as well as with Smartsheet work apps. Lastly, I'll guide you to some upcoming webinars where you can also learn more about working with dashboards, working with work apps, and some additional onboarding webinars that we have available for you on an ongoing basis here at Smartsheet. The capabilities that we're going to explore today are going to apply to a variety of ways that you may be using Smartsheet. But today we're going to be using an event planning template set, and the reason for that is very intentional. Event planning is one area where you are actually going to interact with content in these various definitions of what content collaboration is. So with event planning, you're typically working with a large group of collaborators across your organization and even external to your team or organization. And your need is typically to plan, share, and easily locate all types of content in one place. When planning an event, you are also going to plan content. So you're not just attaching to Smartsheet, making things easy to locate directly related to tasks. You're actually starting at the beginning and you have a list of the type of content you need to create for an event. You can plan deadlines and assignments for that content, as well as go through the necessary approvals. So actually requesting reviews, providing markups and feedback, and finally approving the content you need, whether that is a PowerPoint template, logos, images, videos, and more. Lastly, when you're working on an event, you are likely working with a lot of different vendors or external stakeholders that you need to collect information from. You might need to create or sign contracts, fill PDFs with data from a sheet, and all of that can be done with Document Builder. So depending on what your role is or what type of industry you work in, you may work specifically with a design piece. You may work with a lot of different contracts, and what we're going to look at today will really bring all of that together into a single way to use Smartsheet. We're going to get started in the Solutions Center, and the Solutions Center can be located anytime that you're signed into Smartsheet by selecting the plus button in the left panel. The Solutions Center is where you can, of course, create new work in Smartsheet or import existing work, but we've also made a variety of templates and template sets available for licensed users to download to really get started with something that we have pre-built for you. So here you can browse or you can search. And again, if you're looking to use the template that we're using today for your own work, just go ahead and search for Event Planning Set. Templates and template sets are great because once you download them, you can continue to customize it. So we're all going to have processes that are a little bit different from each other, and a template set is fully customizable once you've downloaded it for your own use. To get started, we'll go ahead and click on the template set we've chosen. You'll see an overview of how this template set works. And when you're ready, you can go ahead and click the large download button within the overview setup guide. Any new templates or template sets that you download can be found in your Sheets folder when you're signed into Smartsheet. And you'll see that our template set today comes with a few dashboards, as well as some reports and sheets for all the different elements involved in planning an event. Now, this can be used for virtual events or in-person events. So you'll see that we have sheets for these different purposes, and you don't necessarily need to use all of them. We've just made them available so you can find the appropriate sheets and the appropriate structure for the type of work that you're managing in Smartsheet. We'll look at a few of these sheets as we talk about content collaboration, and we're going to start with our main event planning sheet. So our work back schedule that has all of the tasks that need to be accomplished in order for our event to launch successfully. This work back schedule is not just planning content. It's going to include everything we need to do from conception of our event to the actual day of the event and really all the tasks in between. This really brings us to that first really important element of content collaboration in Smartsheet, and that is using your Smartsheet as the source of truth for the work that you're managing. So here, even though we are managing all kinds of tasks related to our event, we are going to have tasks directly related to content collaboration. And in order to centralize all of this collaboration that we're doing, we're going to use our attachments column located in the left of our sheet and available in every single row in the sheet. So for tasks where I'm working on content, I can attach that content directly to my sheet, and for tasks that are not related to content. So maybe you have an event charter or you are working on a slide deck to share your event conception out. Really, any type of files can be attached to the related task row, especially for something where you're collaborating with a larger team, a larger department, across your entire organization, or even with external parties. This makes it really easy to know I'm coming to my Smartsheet and I will find exactly what I need, rather than having to remember or bookmark where those relevant items are stored. In my attachments column, I also have several different types of attachments. So the most common one is going to be uploading a file directly from your computer, and this actually uploads and attaches that file directly to the row within Smartsheet. An alternative to that is also to link to something that is live outside of Smartsheet and outside of your computer, so somewhere online or in the cloud. You can link directly to a URL or even attach files that you have stored in cloud storage like Google Drive or OneDrive. A lot of the time when you're collaborating on content, you are likely already working on that content somewhere else. And Smartsheet provides a great way to centralize that and link out to these live items that are actively being worked on. And this way, as those items are updated, Smartsheet is still linking to that most current version. There's no need to upload new versions because the item that you're attaching is stored in the cloud. By using the attachments column, we are not only planning our content needs, assigning those needs, and tracking critical deadlines, we're also attaching the content directly to the row where that task is. So it's really easy to locate within Smartsheet and available to anyone who is involved in our event plan or in the project or program that we are managing within Smartsheet. To further collaborate on this, we can also use our comments column to have conversations, take notes, and use app mentions to tag and notify coworkers with important information. Attaching files to rows in our sheet makes them available, but it doesn't really speak to the process behind content collaboration. And this brings us to another column in our left panel called proofing. With proofing, you're able to not just upload content directly into Smartsheet, but you're actually able to upload, request reviews from stakeholders who can also provide comments and markups and request updated versions of the content you're working on. With proofing, the creatives that we work with to create the content for our event are able to upload their work directly into Smartsheet and can then invite others to review, mark up, and approve this work. The reviewer is then able to use the markup tools to comment, pin, and annotate to really make sure that they're providing the most accurate feedback for further versions of the same file. Once that annotation and feedback is provided, the reviewer can continue and approve or ask for changes in the file. As the designer considers these changes and uploads new versions into Smartsheet, these continue to be tracked. So you can create new versions as well as track any previous versions directly in the row related to the task. Finally, once the content is created and finalized and ready to use, the review is marked as complete and no further changes can take place. Here, we've used the proofing approval workflow to review an image that's been attached to a row, but proofing also supports a variety of file types that might fall under the umbrella of content collaboration within Smartsheet. So images, of course, as well as PDFs, Microsoft file types, videos, and other file types that you can attach within Smartsheet. Here, for example, I've attached a video and we're using one of our previous webinar recordings as an example. Similar to what we saw with our image, I can add the same types of annotations, and Smartsheet will actually track where those comments and annotations are with a related timestamp. So I'll add a similar comment. You'll see I'm highlighting the same type of area that we did in our initial slide. And Smartsheet now is going to track that this was added at a particular timestamp within the video. So even as we continue to watch the uploaded video, when we click on the comment, Smartsheet will take us to that exact feedback that's been provided on our proof. Just like before, we can request additional changes or approve. And while there could be one or more approvers, you can also mark the review as complete and lock this item from further edits. Proofing really takes that ability to attach files directly into a sheet and use Smartsheet as your source of truth for the work that you're managing, but really turns that content element into a process or an approval workflow. In addition to what we saw today, which was actually uploading a video to Smartsheet and attaching it directly to the proof, Smartsheet also offers an extension for Adobe Creative Cloud. So as you're collaborating with creatives who are spending a lot of their time in Photoshop, Illustrator, or InDesign, they can actually work on the content and upload it directly to Smartsheet, all without leaving Adobe, where they are already doing a lot of their work. And this really streamlines that content collaboration piece, making sure that everyone who's involved can collaborate from the tools where they're already spending most of their time. Within our sheet, in addition to attaching files as well as uploading, reviewing, and approving files with proofing, you can also embed content directly into a cell in your Smartsheet. So you can right-click on a cell, select Insert Image. So again, either uploading from your computer or selecting that you have in cloud storage to actually show that image directly in a cell in your sheet. Next, let's talk about content in the form of documents. So in this case, PDFs such as contracts, waivers, even certificates, anything in the form of a PDF that would benefit from actually having Smartsheet data automatically mapped to a fillable PDF. To do that, we're going to head back into the template set that we've started with, and we're going to use the Event Team Apparel sheet. So we're going to use this sheet for event planning to really track who is ordering what types of shirts for their teams to wear to our event. What we're going to look at though with the document builder workflow is the capability that can be applied to any process that incorporates a PDF. And within Smartsheet, you'll see this used frequently for contracts, whether you are working in finance or construction or any type of process where you are working with a PDF that needs to be completed. Document Builder starts with a fillable PDF that you attach into Smartsheet. Map fields to the document, so telling Smartsheet which column in your sheet corresponds to the PDF that you've uploaded. And then with just a couple clicks, you can really easily generate new PDFs. We'll take a look at how to do that by starting out in the first row that has an order. And we're going to just right click on that row number and navigate to Generate Documents. Here, I do already have a mapping created, but I'm going to go ahead and start from scratch to really show how this is a pretty easy and straightforward mapping process. So we'll click Create up here in the top right. We're going to make documents from a fillable PDF that I'm going to upload. One thing that I'll mention here is there's also an integration with DocuSign. So while today we're going to really focus on creating that document with data that comes from Smartsheet, another step to this is being able to then send that document out to DocuSign to use their e-signature capabilities and bring that right back as an attachment into Smartsheet. Also tracking the status of that DocuSign envelope and signature within your sheet. I'll drag a fillable PDF here directly into my Smartsheet, and this is where I'll call out it's important to have a fillable PDF. So it does already need to have fields in the PDF that are ready to be completed with data. Once that has been uploaded into Smartsheet, you're going to see that in the left side of the page here, I have every single column that's in my sheet. And all I have to do from here is drag the corresponding column to map it to the fields that are actually in my fillable PDF. So we'll start with who, or the person who is actually submitting this request. And I'm going to map just a few of these as an example. You'll also see that if needed, I can map the same column within my sheet into several different spaces within my fillable PDF. As I continue working on making these mappings, I can preview my final PDF. And this will be generated with the data in the row that I'm creating this mapping from. For now, I'm going to go ahead and save. And from here, I'm just going to show you how easy it is to use that mapping. So we went through the steps to create that one time. We uploaded our PDF and we told Smartsheet which columns in our sheet correspond to which fields in our PDF. That's a one-time step, and from here on out, I can select right-click and head to Generate Documents one more time. I'm going to choose which of my mappings that I'd like to use and click Generate. And I can either download these documents directly to my computer, or since we're really sticking with the idea of using Smartsheet as the centralized location for all of your work, I'll just attach directly to the 3 rows within the sheet. We'll now see that in each of those 3 rows, I can click on the attachment, and just like before, it's available for me to see as the attachment, and I can click on it, review the information with it, download it, or if I need to make any changes, we can just head right back to that document builder and create a new document. For that additional step where we're going from creating the documents to gathering e-signatures, there is that DocuSign integration available. And to learn more about that, I have included a link over to the right side of the page with information about the DocuSign integration, as well as a link to a more in-depth document builder with DocuSign integration webinar that we've previously held. So far, we've collaborated on content within the scope of a sheet. So we have looked at how to add attachments, how to actually upload files and send them for a proofing process. So going through requesting feedback, providing feedback and markups, as well as asking for changes, tracking versions, and finally approving content. We've also attached a fillable PDF and looked at content as a document. So actually taking data that's in our row in Smartsheet and mapping that to a PDF and creating custom documents with Smartsheet data. Now, our last two ways that we're going to look at content collaboration are actually going to be outside of a sheet. So we're going to take a look at working with dashboards as well as work apps. Now, both of these Smartsheet items are a little bit more involved than a sheet. And once we come to the end of our webinar today, I will actually share some additional opportunities to learn more about those capabilities in upcoming webinars as well. In our template set, we started with 2 dashboards, and this really speaks to the capability of dashboards where you can bring together Smartsheet data as well as images and external content to really create the type of resource that's targeted towards your audience. So here we're planning an event, but we do have 2 different dashboards, one that is all about this planning process, as well as one that is a little bit more external. And this is going to be shared with event registrants. In our event dashboard, you'll see that we've incorporated a lot of text because this is a dashboard that is more of a guide or a resource rather than a dashboard that's pulling a lot of live data from underlying Smartsheet items. And we also have our event planning dashboard that's a little bit more of a traditional dashboard where you're going to see charts and graphs and information coming from those underlying sheets that are really helping us plan this event. This is also going to be a little bit more similar to a dashboard you would see if you are planning a project or a program. Dashboards incorporate content collaboration in 3 of the widget types that are available to us. Today, we'll look at these in an overview because we do offer on an ongoing basis a webinar called Smart Start Dashboards that really dives into the structure of a dashboard, widget types, as well as best practices for building and designing a dashboard in Smartsheet. And we'll take a look at that once we head back to our slides towards the end of our webinar today. The 3 ways that you're going to incorporate content into a dashboard is 1, with shortcuts or links. And this is a way that is similar to those attachments that we talked about in our sheet. You'll see here under both navigation and additional resources, we're using the dashboard shortcut widget to link to items that are going to be valuable for our collaborators. The second way that you're going to incorporate content is by using an image widget. And on our event dashboard, you can see here, we've incorporated some icons to make it really easy and visual to figure out what you're looking for and what type of information you're finding within the dashboard. And of course, here on the top right, you can incorporate logos or additional branding and even customize the colors of your dashboard to really align with your event or your brand logos and colors. Lastly, when working in a dashboard, you can also use the web content widget to actually embed content directly into your dashboard. And as you can imagine, this is really powerful. You can see here on our event planning dashboard, we've incorporated a presentation deck. So this is a great way to embed and make the deck readily available. You can also embed videos, maps, Google and Microsoft content, including slides, sheets, Power BI, PowerPoints, and YouTube and Vimeo videos. And by doing this, really make sure that the content that you're creating is being viewed and used. So rather than simply linking out to it, as we've looked at with attachments and the shortcut widget, with an image as well as a web content widget, we're now making that content available embedded into the dashboards that we're working with. Lastly, we'll talk about how to really package this work that you're managing in Smartsheet, as well as the content you're collaborating on, into a single, easy to build and really easy to navigate app with Work Apps. Work Apps provide a way for you to bring together these various Smartsheet items that you're working in, so sheets, reports, and dashboards all into one place, and customize that experience. So we looked at dashboards where you can create different dashboards with the different data that you need to share with your different audiences. With the Work app, you're able to really create an experience, and that's where that app capability comes from. You're bringing together the items in your Smartsheet solution as well as external content, just like we talked about with our dashboards, but you're also tailoring and personalizing the experience in your Work app. So anyone that visits your Work app will only see the items that you've made visible to them. Within Smartsheet, in our Browse section, you're going to see Work Apps at the very top here. Work Apps is no code, meaning it's really easy to bring together these different elements of your Smartsheet process into one place. Now, our template set didn't come with a Work app for event planning, but we actually do have several different templates available for you to create your own Work app and further customize it to your audience. I have the Project Launch Work app downloaded so we can see this in action. In this newly downloaded folder, you're going to see that I have several sheets, reports, as well as a download for my project. And this is where we start really thinking about what it looks like to collaborate with a process or a project or a program within Smartsheet. Rather than share these items individually or share my entire folder and really hope people understand what they need to do and which item they need to update, we're going to create a Work app where we can share a single app, and anyone who visits that app is going to be able to access only the items that they need to work on. This also brings us back to content, where in addition to these Smartsheet items, we can also add external content directly into our Work app to make it really easy to drive our process forward. Here, our Work app template came with access to these several different sheets, reports, as well as a dashboard and a form. And one of the major benefits of Work apps, as I mentioned, is really being able to tailor the experience to a different role. So anyone who's on our project team will have access to these items as listed. If we're collaborating with an executive, they're going to have access to just these 3 items instead, where they can really get the information they need and see the dashboard that's critical to our process. Lastly, we'll also create a project manager view, and they have access to more information because they need to be more involved. Thinking back to our event planning template, this is where you can think about roles related to your event planning team, your greater organization that may be joining for certain elements of your event or may need access to a single dashboard or a form, and of course, external stakeholders that likely don't need access to the internal planning of your event, but may need access to forms or decks or videos that you can also incorporate directly into your Work app. Now, we're going to do a quick review, and I'll mention that our dashboard and Work app sections have some additional resources that are available for you to really dive deeper into how to create these customized capabilities within Smartsheet. So to review the methods of content collaboration that we've discussed in today's webinar, starting at the very beginning, we looked at really attaching files directly to the tasks and the plans that you have in Smartsheet to treat Smartsheet as a single centralized place where all of your work is managed. This way, you're not just planning and assigning and tracking dates, you're also making any content or any files easily accessible to anyone who's involved in your process. In addition to making files available, we can also start to think about content as a process on its own using proofing. And with proofing, we're able to upload files, request feedback and approvals, collect that feedback with pinned comments and markups, and of course, request changes, provide approval, track version history, and finally, mark a proof as complete. So you know that's your final version and there are no additional changes. Moving on, we also looked at how to think about content as more of a document, using Document Builder to actually map data from your sheet directly into a fillable PDF. This can be created easily with just a few clicks within Smartsheet. And as a next step, this can also be synced to DocuSign to collect signatures, track the status of your DocuSign envelopes, and ultimately attach those PDFs right back into Smartsheet. With both dashboards and work apps, you're able to create a custom view into the work you're managing in Smartsheet. With the dashboard, you're really centralizing all of the information you need, so picking data from your underlying sheets and reports, adding in text, images, and web content, and really creating one place to get the information that your audience needs. You can also create dashboards for different audiences, as we saw with event planning, having a dashboard for our internal event team as well as external registrants. With work apps, you're taking a different approach. Dashboards is all about sharing information, whereas work apps, you're actually creating a no-code app to help your team do their work. So you're including exactly the Smartsheet items they need for your process or program or event and incorporating content. Similar to dashboards in that you can bring in videos and decks and other content to really make sure that when someone visits your work app, they have access to the sheets they need to update, the reports they need access to, any forms and dashboards, and any external content all in one place. Now, this was a quick overview of dashboards and work apps as two really powerful tools for you to manage your work in Smartsheet. And of course, we have additional opportunities available to learn more about both of those. First, on a weekly basis, we do offer our Smart Start Onboarding series, which is a 6-part series of half-hour webinars focused on each of the individual Smartsheet capabilities that you see listed on your screen. Secondly, we also have 2 webinars coming up, one focused all about dashboards versus work apps, and another one focused on dynamic view, which is a different element of collaboration, really letting you personalize the access someone has to the data within your sheet. To register for either of these webinars, head on over to smartsheet.com/webinars. Lastly, before we finish up, I do want to share that you can visit the Smartsheet Learning Center at smartsheet.com/learning to learn more about any of the capabilities we've discussed today. As always, we do have on-demand and instructor-led training and certification available at Smartsheet University. And to connect with others, visit our community or contact Smartsheet support at smartsheet.com/gethelp. Now, we have come to the end of our time, and I do want to say thank you everyone for joining today. And I do hope to see you in some of these upcoming webinars we have in the next few weeks.